The psychology of money endures because it confronts a truth that most financial education avoids. Money decisions are rarely driven by logic alone. They are driven by experience, emotion, fear, ego, and personal history. Morgan Housel's central insight is that financial success is not about being smarter than others, but about behaving better than yourself over long periods of time. Wealth in this framework is not a product of spreadsheets, but of psychology managed well enough to let time do its work. One of the book's most powerful lessons is that everyone plays a different game. People make financial decisions based on their own lived experiences, not on objective truth. Someone who lived through hyperinflation will fear cash. Someone who lived through a market crash will fear stocks. Someone who experienced job insecurity will prioritize safety over growth. Housel emphasizes that disagreements about money are often misunderstandings of context, not intelligence. This explains why copying others' strategies so often fails. What worked for someone else may be emotionally incompatible with your reality. Financial success begins when decisions fit your temperament, not when they mimic someone else's outcome. Another foundational idea is the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is visible. It is income, spending, status, and display. Being wealthy is invisible. It is money not spent, optionality, and control over time. Housel argues that many people chase the appearance of wealth and sacrifice the substance of it. Cars, homes, and lifestyles consume capital that could have created freedom. True wealth is what you do not see because it is the absence of consumption. This reframing shifts the goal from impressing others to protecting future choice. The book also explores the role of luck and risk, two forces often ignored in success stories. Housel does not argue that effort and skill are irrelevant. He argues that outcomes are always a blend of skill and randomness. Some people succeed with bad decisions. Others fail with good ones. Recognizing this reality produces humility rather than cynicism. It encourages diversification, margin of safety, and compassion toward both yourself and others. When luck is acknowledged, arrogance fades and resilience increases. Another key lesson is the power of enough. Housel explains that knowing when you have enough is one of the most important financial skills and one of the rarest. Without a definition of enough, there is no finish line. Greed becomes endless, and risk-taking escalates quietly. Many financial disasters, personal and institutional, occurred not because people were poor, but because they didn't stop when they were already successful. Contentment is not complacency. It is a risk management strategy. It prevents you from risking what you need for what you want. The concept of long-term thinking runs throughout the book. Housel shows that compounding only works when behavior does not interrupt it. Panic selling, overconfidence, lifestyle inflation, and impatience are the real enemies of wealth. The most successful investors are not those with the highest returns, but those who can endure volatility, boredom, and uncertainty without changing course. Survival is the highest form of success because only those who survive get the chance to compound. Another deeply human insight is that financial stress is emotional before it is numerical. People often make destructive decisions not because they are mathematically wrong, but because they are emotionally overwhelmed. Fear causes people to sell low. Greed causes them to chase. Ego causes them to hold too long. Housel's work reframes financial discipline as emotional regulation. Good investing is less about forecasting and more about self-control, because understanding money psychology is only useful if it changes how you behave when pressure appears. Part 2 is about how Housel's insights explain real-world financial outcomes, why smart people still make terrible decisions, and how happiness with money depends more on emotional alignment than on net worth. One of the most important lessons in the second half of the book is that financial freedom is control over time, not a specific dollar amount. People who feel wealthy are not necessarily those with the most money, but those who can decide how to spend their days. This insight reframes the purpose of saving and investing. Money is valuable not because it buys things, but because it buys autonomy. When decisions are evaluated through this lens, many risky or status-driven choices lose their appeal. Housel also emphasizes room for error as a defining trait of successful financial lives. The future is unpredictable. Plans will fail. Markets will surprise. Those who leave no margin for error financially or emotionally are fragile. Those who build buffers survive. Emergency funds, conservative spending, and diversified portfolios are not pessimistic. They are acknowledgments of reality. Happiness increases when you stop trying to optimize every outcome and start trying to stay resilient across outcomes. Another critical insight is how social comparison destroys financial satisfaction. People rarely measure success in absolute terms. They measure it relative to others. This creates an endless treadmill. Someone else will always earn more, invest better, or live more extravagantly. Housel argues that comparison is a battle that cannot be won. The antidote is personal benchmarks aligned with values. When success is defined internally rather than socially, contentment becomes possible even in imperfect circumstances. The book also shows that wealth amplifies personality rather than fixes it. Money does not solve insecurity, impatience, or fear. It often magnifies them. This is why some wealthy individuals remain anxious and dissatisfied, while others with modest means feel secure. Happiness with money depends on behavior patterns established long before wealth arrives. Those patterns, saving restraint, humility, patience are psychological, not financial. Housel's discussion of tail events further reinforces the need for humility. A small number of decisions or events often account for the majority of outcomes. This means that consistency matters more than brilliance, and that avoiding disaster matters more than maximizing upside. Many people fail not because they missed big wins, but because they experienced one catastrophic loss. Managing money well is about avoiding irreversible mistakes while remaining exposed to long-term opportunity. Perhaps the most profound takeaway is that reasonable is more sustainable than rational. Perfectly rational decisions often look extreme and are emotionally unbearable. Reasonable decisions, those that you can stick with through fear, boredom, and doubt, outperform in the real world. This insight bridges psychology and finance beautifully. The best plan is not the one with the highest expected return, but the one you can follow consistently. When all of these lessons come together, the psychology of money offers a quiet but transformative message. Wealth is not a scoreboard. Greed is not ambition. And happiness is not the absence of desire, but the alignment between behavior and values. Financial peace is achieved not by mastering markets, but by mastering reactions to markets. And this is where the book ultimately lands. Money is a tool that magnifies who you already are. When managed with humility, patience, and self-awareness, it creates freedom and calm. When managed with ego, comparison, and impatience, it creates stress regardless of amount. The timeless lesson Housel offers is that the hardest part of money is not making it, but managing yourself once you have it. And those who learn this early gain not just wealth, but something rarer and more durable peace of mind.